face my foe, I lay them low, I fight them without fear. If I should fall and walk no more, I shall not shed a tear. But war is cruel, my comrades die, and I go on alone. I will not stop to ask them why, I know I can't go home. I face my foe, I lay them low, I fight them without fear. If I should fall and walk no more, I shall not shed a tear. My back is broke, my armor's rent, my blood is on the field. My sword is gone, my body spent, I lie upon my shield. I faced my foe, they laid me low, but I go with a smile. The labyrinth, it calls to me. I'll wander it a while. The labyrinth, it calls to me. I'll wander it a while.
Cool. No worries. Oh, classic. Oh, well, if they can hear me, I am very not entertaining, so having to carry this all by myself is... Oh, it's just Steve that they can't hear, apparently. So I'm going to try and carry this for like 30 seconds while you figure stuff out. Cakes? What's about cakes? Oh, cakes are... Oh, I watched my friend stream making a carrot cake for the first time ever, and it was like peak chaos levels, but also peak wholesome. And made me want cake so badly.
That's for sure. Okay, I think. Can you all hear me now? It's showing as there's an input. I think I'm getting. Yeah. I might be getting a bit of interference through as well.
Yeah, we're getting yeses in chat. So.
Yeah. So I will. Yeah, I'm not too sure what's happened there, but yeah. This is only like the second or third time I've used Streamlabs, so I seem to be getting different issues every time I use it.
Yeah, that sounds like Streamlabs.
So never mind. So, can hear you, but a bit fuzzy. My volume is much higher. I can turn Smile up a bit, that's fine.
Yeah, chances are you're going to have to, because I'm sat quite away from my iPad, as you can tell, because if I sit too closely, all you're going to get is this much of me, and no one wants to see that. So.
Yeah, it's because I've moved everything around, so everything is sort of like a bit.
I mean, I could turn up my volume a bit as well. I've turned mine up another 25%, so hopefully now I'm not too loud.
I'm now funneling all the sound back to my mic.
Oh, tech issues, constantly.
My god, this is ridiculous. Oh, with the wall behind me. Okay.
I mean, it's a very fancy wall, to be fair.
I like grey. And this is the wallpaper that was there when we moved in, so...
Fair.
Yeah.
We have
Yes.
beige and beige and beige. Actually, no, it's white. Everywhere's white. It's very disconcerting.
Yeah, so it's now saying it's now time for me to start sticking foam to the walls. Or egg cases or something like that, so I'll have to start trying to figure something out there. But if my audio is alright to continue, then we'll crack on. So yeah, I might have to. It'll be fine. Excellent. Right. So I'll still signing the tech residence so I give some info about her background and why she's here on the stream. You're not my real dad, Matt. Shut up. So we were talking about when we were doing the virtues streams. We were, because you press gang there pretty much. We were doing the virtues, and we realised that we were doing a lot of. It opens up everything with the virtues, and then it was the idea of, well, we need to do one with the nations as well, because they'll be good as well. As I'd say, does everyone like the background picture that I picked? This is one of my favourite photos from Empire.
I'm just having a look at that on my phone. Yeah, it's the
as
one
well.
I was thinking of.
It's a great picture. So good. So I thought, do the first one with one of the orcs. So we thought, I did it with Dave last time, and he's quite experienced. So we thought, go with a newer orc this time.
Yeah.
So
this would technically be the third year that I've been playing Empire.
Yeah.
Essentially, if it happened. So I count it as 3 years. I've been playing an orc for maybe sort of half of that time, probably, because I missed events here and there, so I'm kind of counting by events. I think I've played equal events Navarre and equal events Orc.
Cool.
So I jumped over the fence, essentially.
Yes. So what made you want to go from being a Navarre to becoming an Orc then? What led to that?
Essentially, Sam introduced me to the LARP thing as a whole and was like, you should come and do this. And I was like, that sounds terrifying. And my way of getting around anything that's terrifying is to read as much information about it as physically possible. Yeah. And Empire is great because it has an entire wiki full of stuff that you could never read the entirety of. So I spent forever reading that and kind of whittled it down to a few nations at the beginning that I kind of was interested in, mostly due to aesthetics, because I'm a very aesthetic-driven person. So I kind of drew up character designs based on the aesthetics and thought about the practicalities of playing them later. So I drew up a Navarre. I think I drew up a spooky Swamp Witch Wintermark because everyone... Yeah. And I think I drew up a Brass Coast character as well. And then read more into the briefs of those and was like, out of those, Navarre sounds the coolest. But the entire time doing that, I was like, the Orcs are hecking cool. And just looking at pictures and reading the brief the entire time, I was like, that's so cool. But figured that was like playing on hard mode. And as someone who had never roleplayed before, ever, really, I guess, I was like, let's not start on hard mode. Let's
Yeah.
start on like figuring out the world and knowing how to actually interact with people in real life settings, kind of a thing.
Yeah, good idea. So when you decided to the orcs were for you, well, first of all, what's the name of your orc character?
My orc is called Red Hand Kaza. Red Hand is the banner, so orcs names are kind of backwards to most names, where you have like your short name and then like your group name afterwards.
Yeah.
Orcs names have their group names and then their names. So my group is the Red Hands, and then after is Kaza, which is spelled a variety of ways from people who just hear it. But it doesn't matter, as long as you can pronounce it, it's fine.
Yeah.
So that's my character. I have her head. If you want me to demonstrate the head, because I thought that would be a useful thing to have.
Yeah, I was going to come to the kit and the masks a bit later on.
Cool.
We'll talk about the masks and everything, because they are. Hang on, is this the Kaza from the famous song? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So.
Yeah. As much as I try and ignore that, I am burdened with it for the entire life of this character, and it's.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
It's my own fault.
So no, it's cool. It's really, really good that you have that sort of thing too, because I think I find that with a lot of characters you need that certain something around them, make you known, and so people can go, oh, you're this person or you're that person, and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's so from an outside perspective, it's like when you say, oh, you go, oh, they're an orc. It's like, well, they all look the same anyway. So that's okay. That's my bit of anti-orc stuff done for the day.
It's fine. I get it. Like they all look the same works brilliantly in character, but
Yes.
also out of character. There's only a limited amount of masks people can buy.
Yeah.
So we kind of do all look the same.
Yeah. So within the orc, then what's the actual structure within the orcs? You have, so you've got your banners, and that,
Yeah.
or is it a legion?
So we've got 2 legions and then the reavers, and then in the legions there's different banners. So the banners is like your house, your group, your family kind of a
Right.
thing. Similar to a striding or a steading, I guess, in the VAR. I'm not sure what it would be in Wintermark. But yeah, they're kind of like the people that you spend the time with. They're like your little group, and then the legion is kind of the army that you're most associated with, I guess.
Right.
I'm not in the war game or the political game, so like all of this is kind of just what I've gathered through play. So
Yeah.
feel free to tell me I'm wrong, but also please don't.
Yeah, you got halls in Wintermark.
Yeah, so the banner's kind of like the hall. They're the people that you're going to probably spend the most time with. They're the people that like you all share the kind of not same style as, but with like the banners have developed sort of different looks to one another to help sort of define, because symbology is important to orcs. So helping define like this is my little group, and then we're in this slightly bigger little group, and the reavers could just be kicked to the side because no one likes them.
Okay, so what are reavers then?
So the reavers are essentially orcs that have decided that living under the rule of and like being told what to do as would like, so the legions are like soldiers, and reavers are kind of what's the word I'm thinking of? Bandits for hire. I can't think of the word.
Like mercenaries.
Mercenaries, yeah.
Right,
kind of.
okay.
It's kind of that distinction. Like,
Yeah.
they're happy to go out and do stuff, but they don't want to be told what to do necessarily. And
Okay.
they're kind of like supposedly shoved out from orc society because of that. But it happens to varying degrees in the game, because obviously we're all actual people and we don't just want to be horrible to people. So it's an interesting choice to play Reavers, and it's been done really well, and it's done really badly, and I would not be the person to talk about playing a Reaver because I've never played one.
Okay. Yeah, Matt has just put in a link about the people and the Legion names and things like that, so that's cool. Thanks, Matt. This will be happening a fair bit throughout, because there's a lot of different parts of the wiki that the orcs draw on, isn't there?
Yeah.
So there'll be a lot of things That'll be good. So there'll be a lot of links, which will be really good and really useful for anyone who's interested in reading up on it.
Essentially, there's a whole, like, most nations have their nation brief. For orcs, there's a nation brief, and there's also like an orc species brief.
Yeah.
So there's more there to be able to draw from to get a sense of what these people are as a whole, and then like what they are within the empire as a whole is.
Yeah. So how does it differ than playing an orc to playing a human?
I mean,
apart from the obvious mask.
Apart from the obvious, I've got a big thick thing of latex over my face. It's weird because essentially that choice of putting something over your face instantly takes away the fact that I'm playing as me and people are going to see me as like my actual human, not like the person that I'm playing. So it's instantly just like I can kind of get away with whatever I want now because no one knows who I am. Okay. So like I've walked past people who I know out of character and have like chiefly been like hello, and they've not recognized me and gone, what? Like, how are you doing? Checking in, kind of a thing. But also having that very non-human face instantly makes other people react to just you being there. So whereas if you walked up to a fire, say in Wintermark again, because I know you play Wintermark, if you walked up to a fire in Wintermark and there's people sat around drinking and you were a human and you sat down, they'd probably just chat with you and get along and, you know, what you've been up to. If you walked up as an orc, there'd be a kind of a, oh, what are you doing here kind of a vibe. Like, you're welcome, but also, oh. There's like this weird kind of, I've noticed anyway, there's this weird kind of ominous kind of foreboding, oh, there's an orc, what have we done, the kind of a feel. And obviously in character there's different responses. Some nations are going to be like, yay, orcs, and some are going to be like, what are you doing? So it's just...
I've never experienced that myself from seeing it. I mean, I get around a lot at Empire, and I've had on one of the many outings that Mac and Grim went off, we were in the marches, and an orc came along and he had a box that he was selling shots from and little drinks from them. It was this amazing box. And basically he was there and he was like, well, I'm selling like drinks off to these guys and these guys. We were like, nope, no, you're with us now. You're one of us now. And we adopted him for like a couple of hours, and he was just sat with us. We were just talking, telling stories, and we were just drinks, and I think we drank everything he had with him. And that was incredible. That was great. But with us, there was no sort of like, oh, he's an orc. But you could see people that walk in, see the orc, and leave. So I noticed that a couple of times. But they were mainly from the League, and no one cares.
Like, the weird thing with the marches is that they're quite close to the orcs in general.
Is it potatoes?
I mean, it's kind of icy and dosy. Like, I know a lot of the orcs that have died have gone across to the marches, so there's kind of friendships there anyway. But there's crossover throughout all of the nations, obviously. But there's some kind of crossover between the marches and the orcs especially. But there's some nations that are going to be like, and have no difference to you whatsoever, and some nations that are going to be like, why are you here? What do you want? I could say Varushka, but not all Varushkans. But it's the players as well. It's how the players want to react to you. But just having that initial presence of, I'm not a human. And often, because of the orc brief, you're generally not alone most of the time, if you can help it. So having like 2 or 3 orcs approach somebody and be like, we wanna buy this thing from you, is suddenly a lot more kind of, okay, I might not charge as much as I was going to, than if it was just one small human in Navarre clothing, kind of a thing.
Okay, I can see that. So, it's because there's the speciest. I don't want to use that word. It's between the orcs, and the whole. There should be some sort of animosity towards the orcs, and there should be this big distrust of the orcs and things like that. Do you experience a lot of that? Do you within the game? Do you get a lot of? Well,
I mean,
yeah, you look different, so we don't like you, and
so I feel like a lot of that is meant to come back to the whole idea of the orcs were slaves and people didn't want to give up their slaves and we forced them to, kind of thing. So it's kind of like that. I wish I could still tell you what to do kind of aspect. I think that's what the brief wants the animosity to boil down to. Often, what I think happens in play, from my perspective, is people rock up thinking that they can just like stare at us because we're different. And you know, a lot of the time it's in a good way. A lot of the time is, oh my god, you look really cool, your camp looks really cool, kind of a way. And they just want to like nosy and hang around and chill and stuff. Like that's why the kind of the idea of you know, go to the orc camp, you know, without these things appeared. And there's kind of icy variations of it, but generally it's there so that if there's orcs standing on the gate, you know, to sort of be like, what do you want? We're just trying to poke you to roleplay with us, rather than being like, go away, we're not for you to see, be gone. Like, it's there to poke you to actually get some roleplay out of.
I hear that a lot about it. I think a lot of people are sort of like intimidated by the whole thing because the orc kit is. I agree with you. Playing an orc is playing Empire and hard because the kit standards are immense. They are absolutely immense. There was a question earlier. I'll quickly jump back to. Ben asked, "What's your part of the game if it's not war and it's not politics?"
Oh, I am a physic, so my whole game is essentially healing people and doing that good stuff. I'm also a shaman, so I get to jump into that whole ancestors thing, which has led to some really cool stuff happening around sort of the pit and not pit fights as such, because I tend to switch over to healing for pit fights, but like some pits things. And I'm edging towards the ritual magic game, slowly edging. But yeah, physicking is kind of the fun bit for me, I think. So
yeah. So where was it? It says boils down to don't be a tourist, come with a roleplay reason to be there.
Yeah, literally that. Like these, like I've heard so many variations of the rule of don't go by yourself and bring a weapon. Make sure you've done this and make sure you don't say that. And I'm just like, okay, fine, but and there's icy reasons for all of those things. And I'm trying to stay away from stuff where I think like you should find
out in the field. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I will say this as well. This is the general warning I give. All of this is out of character knowledge. Don't use any of this knowledge in the game. Unless you want to go and find out more, then go and find out in the field.
Yeah.
It's the best way to do it.
My first event, I was I don't even know who it was. Some random person that, because I was a new player, was like, "Oh, you're a new player and you're playing with." I think I was an artisan because I didn't realize that had literally no game in it. So they were like, "Oh, go and find your artisan guild," and I was like, "Okay, where are they?" And I was playing in Navarre, so I was at the Songs of Story circle talking to this person, and I found out 4 hours later that the Navarre Artist Guild is like here, just outside the gates. And I got sent to the marches. The marches sent me to somewhere else. Then they sent me to somewhere else. Then they sent me to the Orcs. And I was like, why have I walked all this way? But just I was like, obviously nervous anyway. Suddenly faced with a line of orcs in front of a narrow gate. And I'm like, I have to speak to this one particular person. I didn't own any weapons. I was on my own. And they all just went, are you after something? I was like, I need to speak to this person. And they went, oh, they're over there by the fire. Have fun. It's like, okay, I don't have any of those things on me that you said. So it's like it didn't matter because I came with a need to speak to a person about a thing.
Yeah.
It's like they're not going to hamper your game or your roleplay. We're not going to hamper your game or your roleplay just because you don't have a sword on you.
Yeah.
Like, and if they do, they're not being nice.
True. Kai's just brought up a good point. He said, you say there's no game in the artisan skill. Look at all the walking and talking you did just looking for the guild.
Yeah, I say this. Like, that's coming from my experience of about 3 events.
Right.
playing an artisan who had no idea what they were doing. I'm sure there is excellent game for the people who are good at it. I was not. So
So with regards to the Orcs, so it's because I know a lot of people are very. I just don't go to the Orcs because you won't get in if you've got no reason to be there. There's Nothing there. I've only ever been into the Orc camp once, and that was as my previous character. And the experience of that was I went in with a bottle of cider to give to one of their first generals, and we sat down having a drink, and then I basically spent 10 minutes being told why I'm a terrible person for not being an orc and all of this sort of stuff, and it was like, so you're trying to talk to someone who cares. So you carry on with your thing over there and hate me. I don't care. And it was really, really interesting. But they were very, very partisan. But I think that was very, very early. And the orcs, because you've seen a massive change in the orcs over the years, and they've become much, much bigger and much better, and everything has changed in the orcs. Well, from my perspective, anyway, they have.
yeah, I mean, as I said, I've only been playing for sort of 3 years, including this year, essentially. So I've not seen that growth as much as somebody who'd been playing the game from the beginning would have seen it.
Yeah.
From what I've heard and what I've kind of picked up, like, I'm pretty sure, remembering from conversations ages ago, I'm pretty sure the orcs were never meant to be playable as characters.
Right.
And it was possibly someone from the player base, possibly, who argued that people are going to want to play the orcs and you should let them. And they kind of wrote a brief in a very short amount of time. Whereas the other nations didn't have that brief, which is why I'm assuming, again, I'm going off something I was told a very long time ago. The orcs came into game with kind of, no lands, kind of roaming around, and a very small nation, because obviously it's hard mode. And as the nation's developed itself internally, we've dragged people in, myself included, got dragged in over the fence. And all that does is just help. It just makes it better, because suddenly, instead of having 10 orcs that you could go and speak to, there's, I think, about 100 regularly on the field now.
Yeah, I think the last event, the number was between, they're in between 90 and 100. So they've grown immensely. So how did you find it then? Because as we said, the orcs have a very insular sort of appearances. For those who don't know any of them, I haven't spoken to them, they do seem very insular. They've got that bit in the woods with the fence around it, the invisible, the fence, I will say, the invisible fence.
Part of it is a fence.
Some of it's a fence.
Some of it's a fence. Some of it's just a rope between two trees. But
that too. And so they've got this this image about them where they're just sort of stuck like that. Yeah. But when you talk to people, I've spoken to a lot of people about the orcs, they are incredibly welcoming. They are incredibly friendly. They are incredibly helpful. How have you found it since your first I want to be an orc? How did you find that going to joining them?
I'd say it's even harder for me because I have anxiety big time sometimes. So having to go into a group of people I don't know and say, "Hey, I want to be friends with you," essentially, is peak terrifying. So essentially, I started by saying, "Yes, I'm going to kill off my Navarre character, and yes, I'm going to go and be an orc." I think that was the hardest thing, because I was walking away from being able to stay with Sam the entire event, essentially. So
who could blame you?
And the next thing was then just me being on the Facebook group, basically saying, "Hey, I want to be an orc. Is there anyone I can chat to and join?" And immediately everyone went, "Hello, yes, you can talk to me." The egregores that we've got are delightful human beings and are incredible at helping you no matter what. Just find your feet. And because I wanted to play a healer, I kind of naturally gravitated towards the Red Hands because they are a healing based banner, basically. So I was like, cool, in with them. and then just chatting on the Facebook chat, and then if people can make it down to the events on Thursday nights, the Orc camp is essentially open to come and say hi, because it's out of character, and essentially people want to be like, come and see our camp, it's really cool. You won't have like gate guards telling you to go away because it's out of character. You can just walk in and say hi.
Is that I've seen them in Hawaiian shirts and.
Yeah, the Not Navar Tiki Bar.
The Not Navar Tiki Bar. That's awesome. The total Not Navar Tiki Bar. Nice.
Yeah.
So the Thursday nights then, you'd recommend have people just come along, bring a drink, sit down, have a chat, have a laugh, have a sing?
Yeah, absolutely. And like, it's really difficult for me to do that with people I know anyway. So doing it with people I don't know, I was even more like the whole time. But gradually, for me anyway, I kind of got used to people, and now there's people that I know in the Orcs pretty well, like my banner mates. There's still people I haven't met from my banner because they haven't been able to get to events that I go to. But it's, there is, because we're a small nation.
Yeah.
I think, unlike Wintermark, where there's 600 players or something ridiculous.
Too
you're
many.
never going to. Yeah, you're never going to know all those people. You might never know a third of those people. Whereas the Orcs, there is the possibility of knowing every single person. Some of the larger, the Iron Tide, for instance, one of the larger banners, they all sleep, as far as I'm aware, in one like army tent.
Okay.
I'm like, well, that must have to be very comfortable with everyone to sleep like 2 feet apart from them. It's not something I could do, but cool. But there is that kind of, at the end of the day, we all wake up in the morning and put a giant latex thing on our face for the next 12 hours. And that alone makes you like instantly stick with those people, because you're all going, this is awful, why are we doing it the entire time?
Yeah, I can imagine. They just put it, the Dunnings, which is a huge group within Wintermark. They're still larger than the whole Orc nation. The Dunnings have about, I think it's 140 people in it.
Wow, yeah.
So they're massive. It's scarily big. But yeah, I can understand the anxiety side of it all, and for joining a new nation. I mean, almost twice as big. Yeah, they're silly big. They really are big. I wanted to try, when my first character died, I wanted to try something new as well.
Yeah.
So I wandered off, and when I made Mac, he was an Urizen, amazingly. Not many people know that, and when they do find that out, they're generally like, really?
Yeah.
Urizen? And it wasn't for me. I think all the nations, they attract certain people to them naturally, and stuff like that, and it's all about finding that fit, the thing that fits. But I think the thing with the Orcs, for a lot of people, is like I said, I think they come across as this big clique, essentially. They're this big group that you think, well, they all stay together, they all do everything together, and you don't really know too much about it, which is one of the reasons why I want to do something like this, because I want everybody to see how friendly they are and how welcoming they are, because that's all you ever get. That's all I ever see from them. So I think the kit is a big issue, but the thing for the Orcs, you're essentially wearing its kit in two aspects. You've got everything you'll wear from the neck down, because you're not allowed to show any pink, really, are you? Any skin?
I mean, not allowed is a strong term. I would
No?
say
Okay.
It's discouraged, but like, things happen. So if you paint your hands, for instance, at the start of the day, if it rains for the majority of the day, chances are the paint's going to come off your fingers. Stuff like if your mask's tucked into your shirt and then you're rolling around fighting, like, it can come untucked. Like, it's the kit that you see that you go, wow, that's high standards. Those players have been working on it solidly for the entire time they've been playing that character. There are some incredibly skilled makers in the Orcs, and they pass those skills around to everyone. And they help everyone out with kit, and it elevates the look for everyone. But if you wanted to just try out an orc, a mandala monster mask is fine. It's the basic fizz rep that you need. Essentially, I'm pretty sure they don't allow prosthetics. I'm pretty sure it has to be a full mask. And then a bog standard medieval tunic, trousers, and then something to cover the gaps between where your shirt ends and your hands. So wrist wraps and ankle wraps and neck wraps. Those have IC reasons as well, but they have IC reasons because they're kind of necessary out of character, so it's justified. But that is like the basic. Oh, and a war skirt. But you can kind of make that out of scraps. So like that's like your baseline kit. And there's plenty of orcs that come into game looking like that. And as they play through, they figure out, oh, if I like layer this, or if I hand stitch this, or if I put a rip in it and then fix this up, or if I weather that down, like it just builds on the whole thing. So I know a lot of people are like, oh my god, the Orcs kit is so good, but I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't have to be. Like, it's aspirational, same as every other nation's kit. It's aspirational. It's just there's less of us, I think, that you see. So you're like, oh, each and every orc is fantastic. Whereas, like, using Wintermark again, 600 Wintermarkers, there's very few Wintermarkers I could pick out just by their kit alone.
I could think of a few, but not like Shaman, for example. All hail his kit. Basically, it's amazing. But I think within every nation, though, they have that. Matt's just said it's almost like we're different than the rest of the characters on the field. Wow, I didn't want to say anything, Matt. He's also said, like yourself, sorry, he's just said that your kit is amazing. So,
thank you very much, Matt.
So I mean, there's a lot of there's obviously a lot of support within the Orcs as a nation as well. So it's a lot of that you don't get the. I think every nation in the field, they have those people who are very elitist when it comes to it. And it's like, your kit's not good enough, you need to do this and this and this to it. And they would word it exactly like that, and that's just, no, you're putting someone down. But coming over... Go on, sorry.
I'm pretty sure the Empire rules for kit are no t-shirts, no denim jeans, and no white trainers. I'm pretty sure that's the minimum kit.
Have you ever seen anybody wearing any of those things at Empire?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's one person that I can think of. I'm not even going to say what nation they're in or anything, but
no.
they've been at most of the events I've been and have worn pretty much the exact same, like blue jeans, white trainers, a plain sort of jumper, and bits and pieces of icy stuff on top of that every single time, and I'm like, okay, fine. Like, you gotta face the fact that not everybody is rolling in cash, and yet they're still perfectly allowed to come and play. My very first piece of kit that I wore, I was pretty much destitute when I first came to Empire. A friend paid for my first ticket. And I turned up and I had I borrowed a pair of trousers, I had some black boots that I wore, and I wore a polo shirt that I'd hacked the collar off of, hacked the badge off of it, just stitched it back up really badly. That was my first piece of kit. Yeah.
And then
that's fine.
It's still terrible now, but it's grown, it's got better than it was. But yeah, you see, I think the best thing to say is that I've never heard anyone within the Orcs who had very much, your kit's crap, don't bother, don't try, but just go off, play another nation until your kits for the Orcs have improved and then come back. I've never heard of anything like that.
I've never encountered that. And I mean, I'm coming from a very creative background, so anything generally that's crafty I can have a go at and it will come out okay, to the point where, I've done bits and pieces of stuff and I'm like, that'll do. But there's people that will say, within the nation that are like, oh, you don't know how to build a war skirt, or you don't have the skills, or whatever reason. Oh, we'll help you. Like, here's how you build one. Like, there's, even on the Orc Facebook page, there's files of like how to, here's how you build some wraps, here's how you build some war skirts, here's how we do this. Like, just, there is this whole kind of, you want to be an Orc? Sure. Have all these resources, like, shoved at you from the start, rather than being like, oh, you want to be an orc, do you? Go figure that out for yourself kind of attitude.
That's good. I'll have to have a look at all of that stuff then, because I have no creative talent whatsoever when it comes to making anything like that. I am worse than terrible.
Well, the fascinating thing for me is that Matt P has spoken in podcasts before about how he has no visual imagination. So, for instance, if you say to most people, imagine a football, they'll see like a football in their head, right?
Yeah.
He wouldn't. He would see the word ball, I think, as he remembered describing it. So he's created this, well, him and a bunch of people have created this entire game. But it's the same with the nations. Like, to be able to do that, you have to bring in other people to do the bits that you can't do yourself. And there's nothing wrong at all with that. So, yeah, kit is something I'm really passionate about, just as a person in general. Like, I love costuming and everything. So, the moment I saw that orcs were an option on the wiki, I was like, that looks like some cool kit challenges.
Matt's touched on something here, which is something I'd heard of, and it's a really, really good point. He says that you touched on the attitude of the Imperial Orc versus kit earlier on, that if you want to improve your kit or you want better kit, then there are scores of people in the nation who would love to help people with that from all types of background. So do you get people coming to you going, oh, I've got this, do you want this? Use that and stuff like that? Was that a thing, or...?
It happened literally the other day. One of my banner put on the group chat, oh, if we've got any new players, I've got this old set of armour that I could pass down. And it's...
Wow!
like, he's... what do they call them? One of the Roman... You know, they reenact Roman battles and stuff, and they do it all properly, all historically accurate as far as we can tell.
Yeah.
There's, like, a name for them. Not reenactors, like, there's a group name for them.
I have no idea. Chat, it's open to you if you know what she's looking for. I haven't got a clue on that one. I would have thought reenactment would have just been the thing.
Yeah, so essentially he was like, I have this old set of this Roman armor which is perfect for the orc group that we could, pass down. I was like, cool. We've had a bunch of people join our banner recently, and any time that they're like, I did some of my war skirt, how's this looking? All of us are like, it looks amazing, I love this bit. And then they're like, how can I improve it? And you go, maybe some weathering, see how it fits on you, make sure you can... There's a bunch of stuff that experienced or even slightly experienced orc players will be able to tell new players that you will not remember, that you won't figure out by yourself. For instance, when making your kit, make sure you can go to the toilet in a tiny bathroom. This is not something that anyone would think of when designing kit.
No.
But orcs will be... I mean, any player with big kit. I'm sure the League have plenty of solutions for this. But...
Well, I think that was something that was brought up on another stream. We were talking about about people who were making kit, and they had all of this stuff that they made, but it's stuff that they would normally, it's like for cosplay, I think it was. So it's like, well, I'm in this for an hour, maybe a couple of hours, and that's it. Yeah. It's like, I need the toilet. Okay, well, I need to go off to this toilet cubicle, get completely naked, and then go to the toilet, and then put it all back on.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So, the orc on the gauntlet, now you have 2 pisses a day, one when you wake up and one before you go to bed. Spoken by someone who doesn't drink very much.
Yeah.
And has never broken the seal before. Thanks, Ben, for subscribing as well. That is awesome. Thank you very much. Matt says that this is he's guessing it's Neil, as he's often throwing out some Lorica stuff as well. Sam has said, is it Centurion? That's a rank, I believe, within the Roman army.
They've got a name. They've got a name, and it's going to drive me mad.
What, cohort? That's
like
group.
No, they're not called Centurion. The reenactors have a name, and it's like this group of Roman reenactors. What's the big long Roman road that goes through London that I can't think of right now? I'm terrible with memory.
I have no idea on that one, I'm afraid. John's just saying, can't physically fit in the cubicle with his horns on. He's a cambion, and they're huge.
Yeah, see, things like that look fantastic just in photographs and stuff. I was a cambion when I was in Navarre, and I had my first set of horns curled around my ears, which was great. And then I had another set because those broke, which kind of came off my head and did this.
Yeah.
And I was forever catching myself on trees, on tents, on like the thing that people don't get, I think, with LARP a lot of the time in making kit is this is what you are wearing. It's not like your costume. It's not something that you just have to stand in and look pretty in. Like, this is what you're wearing this to eat, to sit, to walk, to run. You're wearing this in rain, in mud, like every possible outcome you could think of, this needs to work for.
Yeah.
So if all you can do is sit in it, or like stand up in it completely still, it's not gonna work for you.
You've got a lot of suggestions coming through now.
Oh Jesus!
Comitatus, Watling Road, Pie Road, Fossey Way.
No.
There's lots of Roman roads in London. There are a lot.
The big one. It's gonna drive me bonkers. I should just go and ask in my group chat, but I can't because I'm doing this.
Someone Google it. Carry run a 2-litre tankard and drink constantly as an orc. You have to, or you'll die. That's leading on to a question that was asked earlier by Ben that I didn't ignore. I wanted to wait until we brought these up. So,
Street. The Arm Street. Sorry, I'm pretty sure it's the Arm Street Guard that I'm thinking of.
Arm Street Guard.
Sorry. Doing my head.
Wonderful.
Sorry, go on.
So it's Farrell said, especially for Orcs, our brief is very practical. This is clothing your orc will wear for days. I see she should be able to wear it for the weekend comfortably.
Yeah.
So I wear a kilt underneath. It's like my base layer for warmth. So
yeah,
that's so easy for going for a wee. It's great. Really love it. So I think it's being comfortable and stuff like that. But toilets are something that everyone has to figure out on their own. I'm not your dad.
Yeah.
So it's...
I have held bits of kit for people, but...
I didn't know where that sentence was going, but thank you for ending it the way that you did. I appreciate that. So the big thing I think a lot of people ask about, and I know it's been my question on numerous occasions, because I find the orc, the monster in their masks that they wear so uncomfortable, because I've got a really big head.
Yeah.
Are you sure, given how much Matt gets? Thanks, Ben. The breeze is wonderful for kilts. So the orc monster masks are so uncomfortable. My head is huge. I have a really big head. I have borrowed masks. I went out and bought a mask for like 50 odd quid. Yeah. And it didn't fit. It was the largest they did, and it was too small.
You should see Sam's got an old orc monstering mask that is huge, so it may fit your head.
He's got a tiny head.
Yeah, exactly. So it looked ridiculous on him. But yeah, the orc monstering masks that Empire have are, as far as I'm aware, mass-produced reasonably quickly, because obviously it's mass-produced. And as someone who worked for a while with special effects and stuff like that, I look at them and I go, wow, those seams. Because I know precisely how they've molded them. I can see the flaws in the molds from where the molds have got tired. And it just, I couldn't deal with wearing one of those. I've worn one once for monstering, when I was trying to be able to fight and figure out how that was a thing, and I hated it. I couldn't see, I couldn't breathe. It wasn't fitting right. It wasn't sitting right. Like, unless you get, I think there are players in the Orcs that have mandala masks. I think the trick is getting them to fit you. They're a great price point if you can get them to fit you. And if it's a balaclava mask, there are loads of ways that you can do to make it fit. If it's balaclava masks are the one where they have like a latex face on the front, and then it's like a cloth bandana balaclava stretchy thing on the back. So you can put a zip in to help get it on and off if it's too small. You can make it wider with more fabric. You can take the fabric in. Like, there's stuff you can do to help it fit you. The other thing that orcs often recommend to new players is just wear your mask around the house for a couple of hours if you can, and you will figure out, oh, the eyes are digging in, I need to cut around the eyes a bit more. Or, you know, oh, like a lot of them, I say a lot of them, some of them come with like a full chin, and you'll notice that the orcs tend to cut the chins off, because trying to drink through a little slit of latex is not fun.
No.
But like just getting used to having them like on your head and working out how they fit, and if you need to like pull it a bit tighter, or if you need to like pad it or something. I know players wear extra balaclavas underneath, which also helps with sweating and stuff.
Right.
The thing for me and my mask is my hair, essentially, because I have quite thick, not hugely long, but quite thick, relatively long hair. And so getting that to sit under a mask, which otherwise fits me pretty much spot on. It's from, there's several different mask makers. So there's like a range of sizes, styles, essentially. We could do probably a whole podcast on masks, but
more than likely.
I got mine from the German company Ungebleit, however you pronounce that.
I think that's the one I've looked. Me and Helen have had a look at before.
Yeah, I love the masks that I've seen from Ungebleit. They seem to be really high quality, again, from my limited experience with special effects. And I got one that fits me pretty much spot on. So it's uncomfortable for like the first 5 minutes I put it on, and then it kind of sticks to my face, and then it's fine.
So, Wolven Cry has just put in the link to that Roman thing that you mentioned, which is good. And then Matt and Wolven Cry have both put in the links for Underbuild as well. Yeah. So this was a big question. The last time I did one of these, when I did one of my first ever streams, was with Dave, and we talked a lot about the masks. So it was all about getting everything to fit. So Ben has asked, what do you do when it's too hot?
Die.
Excellent.
There are ways to cope. If it's really ridiculously hot, there was an event last year where I was like, I ran out of spoons for the last day. I was like, I'm just not timing in. I just can't do it. That is a valid option. If it's hot but like doable, try and wear less layers on the rest of your body. That I know orcs that use ice packs and have ice packs on their skin. You're gonna sweat as much, if not more, than you would normally. So just drink ridiculous amounts of water. Make sure that you eat occasionally to keep like your salt levels and stuff up. It's self-care to the max, basically, and then you just kind of deal with it. You can take 5 minutes in the shade with your mask off. Obviously, like in an out of character place, you don't just want to pull your head off in the middle of the field. And I've heard of orcs like soaking their hair before putting their mask on, so like the hair is cold and like keeps the head cool and stuff. It's hard, you know. There's no way around it. It's hard, but there are little things you can do to make it better. And essentially, like, once you're kind of in it and you're just like, okay, this is my life for the next however minute until it goes dark, generally. There's also the option of just waiting till it goes dark and then coming out and doing your role play. That's definitely been something I've done before, where I've hidden for most of the day and then appeared once it's been a bit darker and I can actually breathe.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to go, it's just, you deal with it.
Right. So how about any orcs that wear glasses or something like that then?
I wear glasses. I'm not wearing them right now because you're within my field of vision. there's a couple of ways to handle glasses. On the field, I like to be able to see what I'm doing. I'm short-sighted, not hugely so, but enough.
Yeah.
So I wear contacts because I'm comfortable with wearing contacts and putting them in and out. I know plenty of people aren't. There's some orcs that customize their masks to be able to wear glasses. So you can either make your eye holes in the mask wide enough to get the arms of the glasses through, or you can put little holes behind your ears so they can tuck in behind your real ears, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or you can just be blind if it's a reasonable option for you. There's someone in my banner who wears glasses and doesn't wear any when they're an orc, and they just it's quite amusing because I'll be talking to them going, have you seen such a person? And they'll kind of do this and go, no, because they can't see any distance. So I'm like, cool. There was one time when I didn't have my contacts in because I just couldn't deal with them that day, so I was going blind and they were going blind, and I was like, we're awful, we can't see anything.
Yeah, I don't wear my glasses in the field at all, even without a mask on. I just don't bother wearing them. I'm short-sighted, but yeah, so anything at a distance, I'm just not seeing anything. But I can ignore it. I think so. It's just the way I do it. But I think it's down to the individual. So because I'm pretty sure I have seen an orc with glasses on over the mask. I'm pretty sure of it.
There's a couple. There's the one that I know the most. I can't remember their name because I'm terrible with names. They were in Ashbourne, and I think they're marrying my warlords, and now they might be a red hand. But yeah, there's a couple that have them, and again, it's either goes through the whole hand. Yeah, it either goes through the whole, like the eye holes, if they fit, or you can widen the mask so they fit, or like put a little hole kind of in the mask above your ear, and you can kind of tuck them around your ear. There's ways around it. There's also like generally you wouldn't want to wear your normal everyday glasses. Like even when I was in Navarre, I didn't wear my normal everyday glasses. I had IC glasses, which were just kind of a cheap set of frames with my prescription in that looked vaguely, roughly medieval, so I could just put them on, and if they got smashed, it wouldn't matter.
No. Okay.
But also, it means that you could like splay out the arms to fit them over a mask or something a bit easier. So
there's been some good points in chat about the heat and the masks and stuff like that. So I think I'm going to read them out verbatim.
Absolutely.
So walk on the Golden Hill, drink water constantly. That's a fantastic thing because if it's too hot, you have to stay hydrated.
Hydrate or dihydrate.
Yeah, I am awful for staying hydrated. I am awful for eating. I keep on saying to people, don't do what I do because it's bad for you. Matt has said, if anyone does go and buy from Ungerberg, just be aware there is a small language barrier. They are German, and their interpretation of an orc is pretty mainstream as opposed to an Empire orc, which is very non-traditional, so anticipate that skin colour and savagery scars is it's going to be a bit off. The organ going said the sweat forms a protective barrier between your face and the mask. You just need to be in it and sweat for about 30 minutes. Yeah.
And then it kind of gets used to it. So
he has also said FaceTime is totally legit. This is foul. FaceTime is totally legit, and no one is shamed into keeping their mask on if they need to take it off. Just find a discreet area in a tent at the back of the camp. Comfort is more important than wearing a disgusting latex condom on your head.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about Batman syndrome?
Batman syndrome?
No idea. I'm assuming it's got to do with masks and stuff like that. All the orcs go around, talk like this.
Batman syndrome?
Yeah. So there's a couple. Han wears brass glasses over his mask. Sorry for the massive link.
Where you can't turn your neck. Apparently, Batman syndrome is where you can't turn your neck.
Right. I didn't know that.
I have no issues with that. I like generally masks that go onto your neck are usually a balaclava. Rather than having, I mean, mine's got latex for a couple of inches on the neck. It kind of goes to about here. So if I'm looking down like really hard, it might dig in a little bit. But generally, like I've got fairly good movement in mine, which is great because it's really useful. But I mean, again, it's down to how it fits you as well. You know, your movement in anything is down to how it fits you.
So how about the designs on the masks then? Because obviously with a lot of people, when you come to everyone who's a human or a lineage or something like that, when they have their kit, they're able to do things. So like for Mac, it's got face paint on. And they are able to do things to their kit, and people are able to recognise them, and they're a bit more unique in that aspect. Where you get the running joke with the Orcs, you all look the same, and you get some people like my personal favourite, the Orc. I don't know their name.
I probably
or anything about them, but he put the white skull.
Yeah, Ruick is our senator.
Ruick. Yeah, so it looks incredible.
Yeah, he's part of a banner called the Pelorictus, and they, as far as I'm aware, they all have white face paint or some kind of face paint. There are other banners that use face paint on their masks. There's plenty of them. There's, I think there's one in the Iron Tide. There's the whole Ashbourne. They all have kind of war paint and stuff. There's going to be more that I'm missing because there's a lot of them, and I am terrible with remembering stuff. But essentially, you can kind of put whatever you want on your mask in a way, because it's latex, and yes, latex is hard to paint, but it's not impossible to paint. So you can put bits and pieces on it, and you can augment it. And even if you personally don't have the skills, I guarantee you someone in the nation has the skills. I mean, I've got mine sat right next to me if you want me to grab it.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good.
This is my face. She's sat on a very tiny polystyrene head, which is why she doesn't fit. But if I flip up the hair, you can see the back is just balaclava. But as soon as the hair's down, you can't really tell.
So,
but
sorry, go on.
So I was gonna say, like, I've got like piercings on the nose. I did the piercings in the ears and stuff, and I don't have any like paint on my mask specifically, but it's not impossible. I also put all the hair on, which is a bit off, but there's so much you can do to customize a mask. Like I've seen bones put through the nose, so many piercing options. There's paint options. There's options with hair. I mean, Fowl obviously has the beautiful sideburns. There's also Grud, who has the incredible sideburns. So there's a lot that you can do to customize it and make it yours. Even if you buy a bog standard mandala monstering mask, you can do so much to it to make it different. And I think from what I've seen about new banners popping up, a lot of them are getting not more creative, but maybe like they're taking inspiration from wider areas to be able to make much different characters without, again, I don't want to step too far into like other people's games and briefs and what they're doing, because I don't want to say something that they don't want me to. But
that's fair. As I said, this is all out of character, so people won't be using this in the field. So how about the hair then? I mean, obviously there are people like me who aren't really going to have the issue of, at the top of their head anyway. So we get the long hair. How do you deal with that? And the people with the beards, because every time I put a monster mask on, and because I'm like this, and so it looks like I've got hair growing out of my mouth.
Yeah. So shaping the mouth for beards. Let's start with that, because that's what I'm going to know less about, because I don't have a beard. So I know some, like, it depends. It's completely up to you where you want the mouth on your mask to be cut. I have mine kind of from the top of my lip, basically coming around the entirety of my mouth, going under my chin. That is what is most comfortable to me. It allows me to eat, to drink, to talk, all the things I need to do. But I've seen some people they'll have like the top lip on the mask and just cut the bottom away.
Yeah.
So the top lip kind of covers their top lip, which can work if they have like a mustache or something, because then you've not just got random hairs kind of poking out from underneath the mask. For the beard, it's kind of, you can obviously get masks that have beards on, or you can add them on yourself, and then you can kind of blend your beard in. But I think it's more about cutting, again, to get what's comfortable for you out from the mask. There's also, I know some orcs wear another balaclava underneath, so that covers their beard and keeps their beard kind of tucked down, as far as I'm aware. Again, haven't got a beard, unfortunately, as much as it would be cool.
They're saying that hair's a big part of making the mask look unique. Wanted to do the piercing from ear to nose that links by a chain.
The thing with piercings that move, as someone who has dangly earrings on their mask, is you will hear it. As opposed to having a piercing on like your skin, your own body, you don't tend to hear it. But it's like the piercings in my ears like reverberate through the mask, and I can hear them hitting the mask. So already your hearing's kind of blocked by the mask. If you had extra piercings that are going to jingle and stuff, be prepared for that to make you go crazy.
Excellent. So, top tip from Matt, don't look at an orc's mask to identify them, look at their kit.
Absolutely, unless their mask is really distinctive. Like I'm thinking of one particular Iron Tide who has kind of white paint like this over his mask, and that's really easy to be like, that's them.
Yeah.
Or Ruric, obviously. Yeah, it's Stag again.
I think there are a few. I just don't know the names. And I when it's like getting ready for a battle or something like that, I don't say hello to them. I'll punch them in the back or in the chest or something like that and go, right, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Bit of a fist bump and then you wander off and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, okay.
I do that in real life. I can't remember people's names in real life. I'm like, hey, you person that I know.
I've been introduced to the Orc General. It's like, I don't know your name. We'll do this. It's fine. But the Orc Golden Hill says cut the chin out. So do people wear masks that are literally just like this as well? So
the comrade here. Yeah, that's again, it's entirely up to you and what you find comfortable. I think I've seen one with the entire chin taken out. I can't remember on who or how long ago, but I think so. With hair, like my hair, I tend to, when it was a bit shorter, I could get away with doing like one plait down the back and kind of tucking the tail into the back of my shirt.
Yeah.
Now it's a bit longer. I'm not entirely sure because I haven't had the events this year to figure it out. But I think like I might split it because it's so thick into two plaits and then tuck them in. But it's just kind of, again, balaclavas are an option to just keep it all off. The worst thing is having like some hair pulled like this sticking out your eye hole because you're like constantly digging into your face to try and push it away. So
I wouldn't know.
But it also kind of, for me anyway, it's kind of down to how I put the mask on. So if I make sure all my hair is off my face and like pulled back and then pull it on quite carefully, I tend to be fine for getting random stray hairs poking out in places that look weird.
So they just said Matt Dawes, quick on the links. So Matt, for anyone who doesn't know, Matt is the Orc camp planner as well, and he's been playing an Orc for quite a long time as well, hasn't he?
I would suspect since the start of the game.
Since the beginning. So
I would suspect, yeah.
So Matt's got a lot of knowledge and he's very, very passionate when it comes to the Orcs. So, sorry Lisa, but that's how folks... Doesn't matter, mate. You're doing links, you're helping, so I'm really appreciative of that, Matt. So, but camera shy. Whatever. So, Andy plays Ashbourne Raw. Okay. Does take an hour before time to plait their hair with the majority of the Orcs with long hair.
That's so cute.
I was tempted, I've been looking at a mask and I was tempted to do an Orc. Matt was born an Orc. Was to try to get one and actually put a mohawk.
There's
on that. I thought that would look pretty cool.
Yeah, there's an Orc who's got a Monster Minx mask, who's another maker who does really nice masks. And they're in the UK, and he's got like a little mohawk. It's just like a ditty little mohawk thing, and like, it's so adorable. And every time I go past, I just want to like flick the top of it. It's so cute. But yeah, like having a huge mohawk would certainly be a look, and it would definitely help people being like, "There's the mohawk Orc." But
so go on.
No, I'm just like, I love Orcs. They're great.
They are good. Every time we talk about Orcs, I just sit back and I think, I'd love to be an Orc. I'd love to play an Orc. and I keep on talking about it to myself, and it's like, oh. But then I sort of talk myself out of it, because then I talk about my character and stuff like that. It's like, oh, I love playing Mac. I have way too much fun. So Luke said his mask has grey dreads, thinks it looks cool. I think as long as you are happy and comfortable and you enjoy what you're wearing, that's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, you can get away with anything. Like, there's, I think the majority of orcs, I would say, that have hair, not all of them have hair, that have hair, have natural kind of colours of hair. But there are some orcs that have, like, vivid colours of hair.
Yeah.
There's some with blues and reds and stuff, which looks really cool. I was going to have blue hair as an orc, and then was like, I have blue hair for the rest of the time. Let's have normal coloured hair.
So the question, is it more normal for an orc to have hair or more normal to be bald?
So as far as the wiki is concerned, I believe orcs are generally bald, because it's easier to make a mask without hair.
Yeah.
So that's why no orcs have eyebrows, because putting eyebrows on a latex mask is an absolute ball ache. So they've just written it out as a possibility.
Okay.
But yeah, it's kind of down to you and what you want. I think the majority, or like from the wiki, the majority don't have hair, but I'd say in play it's at least 50-50, if not slightly more, do have hair, because having hair is such an easy way to say, like, I'm different, like I'm not that orc, I'm this orc, kind of a thing.
Yeah. So what else we got here? Heard some people just got a hole in their mask and pull their own hair through.
Yep, valid.
So Matt said, everyone's next character is an orc. That's a trope that's been Empire for a long time. They've died and resurfaced again and again. My advice to people is to make yourself the base kit for a monstering orc, and then when your current character story is finished, you're already most of the way towards your orc character. Yeah. I think I would be able to come in as an orc. I think the only thing I don't have is the mask. I would be comfortable and confident enough to do it. But I don't. I think it's like with any new character, isn't it? And doing something different, it's just taking that step. Yeah. So I've seen the mask that you can buy with hair, but how can you actually have hair on a generic mask? Is it just super glue and willpower?
It is not just super glue. Please don't use super glue. You can get specific glues for gluing stuff to latex, including latex. So, but there's all sorts of finicky little things. Like when I got my mask, because the latex has kind of like a layer of paint, and it had fully set for however many weeks. The latex wasn't sticking to it. It was just forming a layer on top that was pulling the paint off.
Yeah.
So I got a little bottle of Copydex, which is latex glue. And the hair is actually attached to my mask. I don't think you can see it, but it's actually attached. I think I did it well enough that you can't see it. It's attached, like I sewed the individual dreads onto like a wig plate kind of thing, and then glued that onto the mask so that the individual dreads aren't pulling at them. Okay. But each individual mask maker is probably going to have their own secrets as to how they add their hair to the mask. There's people in the camp that can do it. Yeah. I know for a fact.
So the most distinct orc would be an eyebrow orc.
I mean, it would be a look. Certainly, I don't know whether it would be a good look. I definitely want the elf eyebrows from Warcraft. You know, the great big long ones that stick up the side. Yeah, the eyebrows. Those would be great.
So you've got unibrow orc. Monobrow. Yeah. Bloodbrow Dory. Do people wear makeup when monstering, or is it just a mask? No, you have to wear like panda eyes, don't you, underneath the masks as well, and on your mouth as well. So you'll see a lot of people with stuff like that. You face paint your eyes and mouth and wear a mask. Do my best to find the legendary picture of the eyebrow orc.
Amazing.
Oh dear, Matt's Facebook and picture fool has failed him. So what would be? We don't set up or take down our own camp. We get the panda people to do it for us. So what's the biggest bit of advice you would give to someone who wanted to play an orc?
Ooh. There's so much that you could say just on any subject, really. Like the classic ones are make sure you drink enough, make sure you take time out if you need it. Like those are all the classic things. I would probably say make sure that the banner that like most people coming into the Orcs will like join the banner or come with like one that I've made with a couple of friends. But make sure that what you're doing is what you want to be doing, because the people can be great and everything, but if you're not playing the game that you want to play, just having the people around you isn't going to fix that. No. So I'd say make sure that you're playing the game that you want. If you don't have people around you, like the people will flock to you because there's going to be game for everyone everywhere. So I'd say that. All the other advice everyone else can give.
Excellent. So what was it? Your red hand? Was it your banner?
Red hand.
Red hand. Okay. So within the Orcs, then, do they have? So they just like all the other nations. You've got senators, you've got generals, or do they have like an Orc who is in charge within the Orc nation, the Empire, or?
As far as I'm aware, we have the same political structure as any of the other nations. It's just I think we're smaller, so those positions that in a larger nation would be like this one person out of like 200 or 300, it's like this small group of people. Like generally when we have standing, which is similar to like the moot, I guess, in Wintermart, like the big meeting, like there tends to be a couple of Orcs that you're like, ah yes, the senator is speaking, ah yes, Matt Dorswood is speaking, he's still speaking, oh he's still speaking. Like,
so basically, let's wait around until Matt's sharp.
We once had a standing where it started before and ended before Matt arrived, and it was the shortest standing I've ever been to. There are the people that lead the nation, same as any other nation.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you how it works because I don't know. It's not my game.
Okay, no, that's fair. That's fair. So we've brought up the I suppose there's dislike from outside the Orcs to the Orcs themselves. What about from within the Orcs to other nations? What is the nation that all the Orcs look at and go, oh, we just don't like them. We've got to stay away from them. And why is it the Navarre?
I think the Navarre helped the Orcs out fairly recently. I think we're on decent terms with them.
My general camp, when I was the Navarre general, I was actually one of the people who fought really hard to get the Orcs their first their first territory. So they were executed, but that's just part of by really. But yeah, so it was. I really like that with the Orcs. The whole we need to do this thing, work together, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But which nation would you say the Orcs dislike the most?
I can't speak for the entirety of the nation. I personally, as a character, am iffy with Varushkans for obvious historical reasons, being slavery. But I feel like it's easier to just be like, I don't like these particular characters or this particular. Like, the hardest thing for me actually was being loyal to the Empress when she was still a thing, because I didn't like that character. Like the character that she was playing when I was in Navarre, I had free reign to hate that character, which was great. But as an Orc, I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be loyal to you. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's hard for me to answer that because I haven't been playing the game that long, so I haven't seen
Yeah.
the intricacies of like the political fallouts and stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm doing. I'm going to be doing. I'm doing another walk stream when it comes to the. Well, we're talking about the virtues and stuff like that a lot.
Yeah.
And we've got a couple of people doing that one who've been playing the game, I think, a lot longer than you as well. But
Yeah.
the good thing I wanted to get you on for, because it's a new player perspective, a relatively new player perspective.
Yeah,
as
reasonably.
well, which is good. But see, I was hoping the Orcs in chat would come out and say, "Oh, we don't like this nation, we don't like that nation," but they haven't. I'm almost disappointed.
They're possibly being too polite. I'm seeing Luger's name. Why is Luger being mentioned?
John mentioned spoke to a fantastic red hand orc that had his arm in a splint wrapped in a red cloth.
Yeah.
Taught me an orc gets whiter with age.
Poor Luger. He had an accident out of character that meant that he had to have his arm in a splint for a really long time. And so I think there was like at least 2 events where he couldn't use his hand. And it was just like wrapped it in like a red bandana because like red hands. And
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, just went on with life. And anytime someone was like, "What have you done?" I can't remember what his answer was. I think he said it got chopped off, but it's being grown back slowly with this like a ritual. And so he just kind of rolled with it. At every event, it would be like, "Oh, still growing, is it?" Because you have to. But yeah, as soon as he could get back on the field, he was out. He was gone. I was like, "Okay, bye, hospital friend."
Matt says, "I feel the streamers' questions between you two. I feel every orc coming on and taking over would be a little crass." It's questions, mate. We're more than happy for it. It's the problem will be told to pick one other nation. We don't like.
You can pick many.
Yeah, I am more than happy for people to say that we don't know this. It's like my first character hated Highguard with a passion. The human one. That's the correct response. That's the one I was after. So I hate my first character hated Highguard with a passion. And my second character, Mac, he hates Highguard with a passion. Steve doesn't like the brief. I will never get on with it. It's I don't. It's just yeah. So it's things like that. But I think the dynamic that the Orcs bring into the field is a great one, and I always find that when you ask people about what they've done during an event, they'll always say, "Oh, I did this in a fight. I did this with a fight. Oh, I've done this. I've done this. Oh, I went and met the Orcs as well." It's always a highlight. It really is. I think deep down there's problems with every nation, but at the same time there's bonds across every nation. The better question might be on how does your character feel about the other 9 nations?
Yeah, that's kind of why I was like, well, as like my character, I don't like not fond of the Varushka,
yeah,
but happy to have that changed in game.
Yeah,
and yeah, the Navarre is weird because obviously Sam is in the Navarre, so just being able, so I camp in Navarre with him, so. As my character turning around then had been like, the Navarre, I'm like, but I'm literally in the camp. So I've kind of been like, yeah, the Navarre, they're alright, they're handy in a tight spot kind of a thing.
Drunken Corsair, stop being sensible with your answers, Matt. Yeah. I think that's it. I think that's what's good about the whole game is that everyone develops and grows their own answers with it as they go. Liam said, "I'm so scared to meet the Orcs. I know that there is rules going to the Orc camp, but I don't think even if I follow them, I'll be welcomed very, very much. Although I will bring cookies."
Okay, so I touched on this point earlier. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna repeat it for you.
Excellent.
It doesn't particularly matter. If you're stopped at the gate, it's because we're poking you to roleplay with us. If you've got a reason to be there, which selling cookies is an excellent reason to be in the Orc. Literally, if you bring a basket of food to the Orc camp, chances are, as you leave, that basket will be empty.
Yeah.
Just to let you know. I once bought a basket of jerky round and left and was like, cool, so no other nation's getting that.
Yeah, the orc on the gun who has said, "I'm here to sell sweeties" is good enough reason to come to camp.
Literally, if you're selling or trading, like we don't like, you can walk right in. It's the reason with people being on the gate is to give it kind of that more military camp feel. It's kind of to stop people just wandering through and being tourists for no reason. But the amount of times that I've had kids come up and be like, "Can we come in?" I'm just like, "Sure, just watch yourself."
Leo said, "Is this due to him getting knocked out and they disappear, or trade?"
I mean,
It's up to you, I think, on that one.
yeah, very much up to your attitude.
I've walked past the orc camp a couple of times, and I've seen people carried out, put down, then sort of like sorted out, and then just sort of like, yeah, off you go and stuff. I've seen it a few times.
The one time I got really annoyed with someone who was like trying to get in, basically, was this person, and I could see them kind of across the path, kind of talking with their mates, and then they kind of shoved this one over, and he was like, "I've been told I've got to come into the orc camp to trade something as payback for this from my mates," and I was like, they're not very good mates if they're making you pay back just because you mess something up.
Yeah.
And kind of had that whole IC interaction, and he was just like, "Look, I've just got to come in. They've just told me I've got to come in and get something from an orc." And like, his attitude was so, "I don't care what you say, I'm coming in anyway." I was like, "You're not getting past me." And there happened to be an Avari, sort of stood there talking to the other orc who had a basket of seed packets that she was giving out for free.
Yeah.
Just like, "It's spring, have some seeds." And I took one of the seeds from her basket. I'd already chatted to her, so I took one of the seeds from her basket, handed it to him, spinned him round physically, and gave him a light shove away from me. I was just like, "Bugger off, mate." Because, like, just as long as you come with, like, an attitude of, "I'm here to roleplay and I want to interact with you," his attitude was very much like, "I just want to come in. I don't care about anything you're doing. I just want to be in." I'm like, "Nope, that's your interaction with the orcs, my friend. Be gone."
That's brilliant. I like that. So what else? Rachel said, confirmed, "Orc weakness is cake. It was both a terrifying and lucrative experience with some brilliant roleplay." Phil said, "Law of the unwelcome guest." Matt says, "Going against what I said above about hijacking the stream, please don't feel like you have to bribe us with food. That really isn't what we're doing. It's just one option." Smo says it right when she says we just want roleplay. That's go with roleplay. Ask, even if it is, "I've heard this about the orcs. Could someone explain it to me?"
Yeah.
Perfect. There you go. Deal with it. Go and run with that.
Even if it's like, "Oh, I saw this old orc who was walking around and he was shaking a tin asking me for money. Is he okay?" "Yeah, that's just our egregore. Carry on."
That's brilliant.
Like, seriously, our egregores are so great. They go so hard. I love them both so much.
I've never met the orc egregore. I feel like I need to now. So,
I've had that conversation with someone. They were like, "Are they okay? I've just seen this." And I'm like, "Yeah, they're fine."
Orc said, "No one's forced to be on guard, nor is there any organisation from our side to make sure there's someone on guard." Germinated once. Did someone give him a balloon for Larry the Fuzzy? I think I see my reason for going to your camp will be along the lines of, I want to bring some more trade to the camp for Wintermark, as most people misjudge the orcs.
I mean, sure, you'll get roleplay.
You'll get roleplay.
I'm not going to tell you what, but
you'll get roleplay from that. Probably from both camps, to be honest. With that one, if that one comes out, that's a good one to go with, Liam. Go hard on that. I encourage you there. And don't fight the gate guards. So you can have a scrap with them if you want.
Yeah, the gate guards is literally, it's not a thing, really, but it is a thing. It's basically just like, you're chilling at the gate, and it presents opportunities for roleplay. So I tend to stand there if I don't have anything to do, if I'm a bit bored, if it's cold and the sun is shining on that particular spot, I am in it. Like, it's just like a chill, and you get to meet people in and out all the time. Like, but there's no reason that people have to stand there. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
It's like sitting at a fire, but it brings roleplay. It's great.
It's as the Orc on the Golden Hill has said, the fighting pit is like 10 feet away from the entrance. Fight away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that the fight pit that is within the Orcs. It's not something I want to bring up or talk about. I want that to be something that they go and ask about in character, because it is a great thing to talk about and to see and to do all of that. So that is a definite find out in play thing for me.
Yeah. All I'm gonna say is it's great.
Yeah. So, a Navarre Egregore once asked me to explain to an Orc Egregore where his soul came from. It was an awkward conversation. The soul conversation. This will be something that we'll be talking about next weekend. Where I'm doing all the virtues chat and stuff like that. We've got a couple of people coming on. There's going to be a load of us, and we're going to talk about all of this sort of stuff. This will come up, guaranteed, mainly because I've got it written down to bring up already. So there are things that, like that as well. So this is why we don't have eyebrows.
Oh, I've got to see this.
I don't want to click on it. Once went into the Orc camp, curious about studying their blood. That was a fun conversation.
That picture is amazing.
Ah.
Also, excellent joke. Thoroughly enjoying that joke.
Oh my god. That's...
Yeah. There's the only way to do realistic looking eyebrows would be on a mask is generally to use silicone. And silicone is so heavy, and it's just like to have the strength to be a mask that you could pull on and off so many times, it's just not worth it. Like latex is a much better option, and
Yeah.
you can't like you kind of can, but you can't really punch hair into latex. It doesn't work the same as silicone, so it's just easier just not to have eyebrows.
I think Matt's hit the nail on the head here, and he said this is a good example of reading the brief and talking to a community before you join as well. Yeah. That picture is amazing. For me, that's character goals right there. So, guys, terrible pun, just terrible. So
I love terrible puns though, so I'm down with it.
Yeah, truly terrible. So I think we'll call it there, because I think we've covered a fair bit. We've talked a lot. There's been a lot of questions, and the funny thing is that because this is the first nation brief chat that I've done. Yeah. We really have not even broken the surface here. I don't feel at all.
No.
So
that's why I was saying, like, you could do a full stream just on like mask. You could probably do another full stream on just kit.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely. I certainly could. But that's like where my heart and soul goes into LARP, is making stuff for it. So
I think what I'm going to do a national chat with every single nation that there is, and then Ben says, thanks, Kazza, looking forward to hearing you sing on the field one day.
I mean, I probably won't be singing on the field. I might be.
Sam.
It's my partner that sings the song, and my partner has plans. So.
I look forward to hearing his song about Mac as well.
Yeah, I'll get him on that.
I think we'll get a nation, at least one nation stream done, and then we can go from there. Yeah. Question: what do you think of the Kazza song, and how much roleplay have you gotten out of it?
I have so many feelings about that goddamn song. I wrote it before I was a character. I wrote it before Kazza was a character in Field. It was sung the event, I think, a couple of events before I appeared in Field as that character. Even before I appeared in Field as that character, it was generating roleplay.
Brilliant.
Like, it is a great thing to have it generate roleplay, because the response that it gives is like, chances are Orcs have heard it. Like, whether that's me out of character being like, oh, I've got this fucking song, or like it just being overheard in character.
Yeah.
So a lot of them be like, if I introduce myself, especially when I was new, they'd be like, oh, that Kazza, and I like, yeah, I'm a little bit sick of it because I can't get away from it. But on the other hand, it's kind of great because it just generates stuff all the time.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's a good thing to have. Sounds like crotch good. Might need to be passed on. It's like, for me, it's like the Smash song. I love that song.
I thoroughly enjoy that song so much.
Absolutely
it sucks
adore that song.
They're all dead.
Yes, yeah, that really does suck. But that was a great song. But what I think we'll do, going back to it, because I will be bringing it to an end in a second. I'm going to do I'm going to do one of these chats on all of the nations. I will fix my little area here so I don't get a shadow appearing at this height. And I will sort the audio out and stuff like that as well for probably not next time, because my next one is tomorrow, where we're doing ritual magic. With Adam, Sal North, and someone else who I don't think we've found yet for it. So we got stuff going on, but we're going to do every nation. We're doing all of the virtues. We're doing heresy, and there was another one on. So spotlight on the noggin. Well, yeah, pretty much. But I think my forehead is shiny enough to do it reflects enough light, to be honest. So, but we've got there's going to be a lot of stuff coming on, and I'm even going to try to persuade Matt P to see if I can persuade Matt P to come on.
Do it.
Because
you will not get a word in edgeways.
Oh, I think I will. I think I will. I think it'll be good because I can mute him.
Yeah.
So I think if I can get Matt on, because I think that'll be quite an interesting one, and I think a lot of people would like to know where everything started and all.
There is a Profound Decisions podcast, but it doesn't come out very often because obviously they're all busy bees.
Yeah.
But if you could persuade him, I think that would be great.
I'll see what I can do, because I know he's actually followed this channel now, and and that. So I think it would be good to get out, and then and then we'll just go on and just keep it all going, keep the king going, because if they're relaxing more of the lockdown in July, then fingers crossed we get an E4, and then we'll
be in a field.
We'll be in a field for E4, and I can come and have a drink with everyone.
Yay!
That's what I want. Really, really want. Really, really miss it. So yeah, hoping for E4 as a definite. Yeah. So next stream I will play the Kaza song beforehand because she's not in it. So thank you, Smo.
You're welcome.
So thank you for coming on, Smo. I really appreciate it. I really do. It's been really good. Thanks everyone for coming along to watch. Thanks if you've followed or subscribed or do anything like that. I am currently $17 away from $100, and then when I get that, I've got more money to buy free stuff, and then I can buy more stuff for giveaways and competitions, as I'm trying to do a lot of. So I've had people come to me and say, I've got this, do you want it as part of a giveaway? I've got this, do you want it as a part of a giveaway? So I think that's a tunic and some like lights to go around the tent and stuff like that. Nice. So I'm going to do stuff like that. So it'll all be, we're getting there, we're growing, we're getting bigger. So thanks for everyone for coming along. Thanks Matt for putting all the links in. And absolutely fantastic. And I'll be streaming again tomorrow.
Cool.
All right.
I'll be in the chat.
Excellent. Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. So thanks everyone. And I will speak to you all soon. You all take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Happy Father's Day to everyone.
Bye, people.
Take care. Bye bye.